All right, I got a story to tell you. How did a tiny house change my life? Now, my story has had many episodes to it, which I think are fun and cool, and I want to share some with you because they lead up to me choosing to live in a tiny house. I started my career as a teacher. I believed in education. I wanted to train the next generation. However, when I got to the schooling system, I got disenchanted with it. I didn't think we were preparing kids for tomorrow, let alone today. So I had to look for something else to start teaching. I came across a field of design called permaculture, which is all about how to design humans into their physical and social world. And that changed my life. I did a 2-week course in it and I immediately saw this is what I want to teach. This is what I've been looking for. This is what's missing from our education system. And so I started teaching it to my high school students and they loved it. But I was doing it for 40 minutes a day, 1 day a week. And it wasn't enough. So when my contract finished with that school, I flew to Australia and I started to relearn how to live on Earth. I went and did an internship down there with a man named Jeff Lawton, and I traveled around for a full year. Not for fun, although definitely a lot of fun was had, because I wanted to see how different people had built their homes, built their food systems, and created community. I came back home from going to Australia and I went, I am ready to teach this. I'm going to start up my business. But I was moving back to cold climate Canada and I was learning all this stuff in the subtropics of Australia. So I had to go and learn some more. I went across Canada for a full year. And in that year, I got to work, both those years actually, I got to work on earth ships, tiny homes, straw bale houses, and yurts. I got to sleep in them, I got to set them up, it's phenomenal. And I started to see the possibilities for how we could build a house differently. Coming back from that, I started to think, well, what kind of house do I now want now that I'm coming back home? And I didn't have to think very long because I didn't get the chance to. I had an opportunity to go to Barbados and start up a school for permaculture, which was phenomenal. To be training people with the Ministry of Agriculture, United Nations support. We did a Kickstarter campaign and raised over $20,000. And we trained over 100 people on the island in regenerative agriculture. Coming back home from that opportunity, I now said, no more waiting. I want my house now. I thought, do I want an earth ship? A hobbit hole from Lord of the Rings? No, I didn't want one. It was too much work. I'd worked on 2 of them and I saw how much work it was to make. Did I want a straw bale house? Yeah, actually I did. But I have something against debt. I didn't like the idea of getting into $500,000 of debt to have a house. And a straw bale house costs similarly to a conventional house. So I chose a tiny house. I decided to build a house that would leave me debt-free, with minimal impact, living in accordance to my values, surrounded by things that I love that I chose, simple possessions, and simplify my life. I chose, therefore, to use a tiny house. It was accordance to my values. I built it with materials that I wanted to have. I chose to make it incredibly efficient, so I only spend $260 a year on heating. Actually, I spend less than $2,000 on bills a year, and I have no debt. And I live off-grid. And now what I get to do is I get to choose what I do with my life. And this is why we titled this, How a Tiny House Changed My Life. Is because no longer do I need to work a 40-hour work week doing something I don't want to pay for a house, to own it eventually, to fill it with stuff that I don't even use or want, or to heat it unnecessarily. I chose everything in here, went high quality, and now I live in this thing and I don't have to spend all my time working. But you know what? I do choose to work a lot because I believe in education. That's why I do these videos. That's why I teach workshops. This is, I want to give myself and what I know to other people. And so you can see how a tiny house has changed my life. how I've made decisions on how this goes together from exterior to interior to utilities, and therefore, I now live a life that I want. Hopefully you can see how a tiny house changed my life, and I want you to imagine how a tiny house can help change your life. Thanks for watching. Click below to subscribe if you want more videos like this, and feel free to share this if you were inspired.